Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in today's video, I wanted to talk about AT&T, as there is still a lot of confusion out there about 5GE and the Band 14 upgrades. So the Band 14 upgrade alone is not what's enabling 5GE. It's essentially the one-touch strategy that AT&T has been using. So if that cell site is due for a FirstNet Band 14 upgrade, they are going to the site when the permit is issued, and they're upgrading everything at the cell site and not just the Band 14. So they are going to the top of the tower and they're swapping out the panels, which, by the way, AT&T now is doing a brand new setup. So they aren't using the old panels that they were using for each frequency, which AT&T sites usually, you can tell what an AT&T site is by how many panels they have up on the cell site compared to the other carriers. Like Sprint mainly only has about 3 now. It's 1 panel on each sector, which are 16 ports, and those are doing Band 25, Band 41, and Band 26. Where in the past, AT&T on the legacy panels were doing Band 12, Band 2, Band 30, all on individual panels, which they're now reducing down to about 3 panels with the Band 14 setup, which in return is going to allow them to lower the cost of the rent on the cell sites because it doesn't weigh as much anymore. So that's also one thing that AT&T is doing with this one-touch upgrade. Also, they're doing the baseband units, so in the future those will be software upgradable. So this is all going to work to AT&T's advantage. Now the 5GE comes into play when this upgrade is fully completed. The cell site is going to have 4x4 MIMO, 256 QAMs, and 64 QAMs as well, plus a provisioned backhaul of 400 megabytes per second. Now that depends on the market. In markets where AT&T uses a third party for fiber, such as maybe Spectrum, CenturyLink, whatever the case may be, in those markets they're probably going to be right around at the 400, maybe 450 megabytes per second. In the markets where they do own their own fiber, where AT&T is the main fiber, they are going to push 500-600 megabytes per second. So that all is in consideration with the 5GE upgrade. Now again, most of you have seen it already. It does not cure congestion. So if you are on 5GE and you're on a heavily crowded venue in an area that's just congested, period, that's not gonna cure congestion. But what it will do, it will allow the site to run at optimal performance. So if you're seeing 2, 3, 4, 5 megabytes per second, you wouldn't have got that prior to this upgrade. So if it was an LTE site that hadn't been touched, you probably would have been below 1 megabyte per second and not able to really do anything. But with these new upgrades, you are going to be able to push the tower's performance. And of course, you got to have a cell phone that's compatible with this technology. So you must have a newer cellular device like an iPhone XS Max, the S9s, the S10s, the Galaxies, the Notes that take advantage of this newer technology. And if you want, in the comment section down below, make sure to comment what phones you have, and I will be able to tell you if that phone is compatible. Some devices now do some of the newer technology, some don't do any at all, and then the newer ones pretty much do everything that I mentioned in the video. So all of that I mentioned has to be on the cell site active for that cell site to be able to do 5GE. Now there's another standard that AT&T wants to hit before they turn on the 5GE in markets, which is they want those requirements that I mentioned on the cell site to be on 75% of cell sites within that market. So if that market is not, if it's at 40-50%, although you're seeing that some of the cell sites are doing 200, 300, 400 megabytes per second on LTE, but if AT&T hasn't hit that 75% mark, then 5GE won't appear on your phone just yet. But according to my source, we are looking at getting nationwide 5G. That is the goal by the end of this year, if not in Q1 or Q2, fully across the nation is what they're aiming for. That is what AT&T is aiming for. And also the article that you're seeing here, AT&T has invested $7.2 billion within Illinois. So that means, the Chicagos and all the surrounding suburbs and other cities as well. Now, according to my source, AT&T is really now just getting started with how the network has been performing. If you see this heavy investment that AT&T has made in Illinois, Verizon is still the better performer overall because of their density, the small cells, and all the upgrades that they have done. But from 2011 to 2018, AT&T has kept up in that market, but they're still lacking behind on density, and they still have coverage gaps within the highways and such. Now they're fixing that now, but if you guys remember in 2014, 2015, 2016, it didn't look too good for AT&T. They weren't really doing much. A large amount of their coverage was still HSPA, so you had coverage, but it wasn't LTE. So I want to say, in my honest opinion, the first net contract gave them motivation. I don't necessarily want to say it saved the company because they were still making a lot of money, but it gave them the motivation to say, hey, look, if we want to keep this contract with the government and get this reimbursement, we got to have coverage that's on par with Verizon if we want to say we are the first responders network in the time of an emergency. And then, hey, Verizon has better coverage. That's not going to be, that's not going to really match. They got to have a much extensive, much broader coverage overall than Verizon to prove that they earned this first responders contract and that they are able to consistently and reliably offer that service to the first net responders. So yeah, the future investment that's coming now here this year, still towards the end, there's still tons of upgrades happening nationwide, and going into 2020 and 2021, this is probably the period where we're going to see AT&T become the most aggressive against Verizon and pull away from T-Mobile. If you guys remember, in 2014, 2015 is where T-Mobile really ramped up the upgrades and also the nationwide expansion. And a lot of people were saying that if AT&T becomes stagnant and stays stagnant, that T-Mobile is going to eventually catch them. And that's when people started seeing on their coverage on routes where they were traveling that they were connected to LTE on T-Mobile, but 4G HSPA on AT&T. A lot of people were more likely to see that back then. But now, this, I think, where the aggressive investment comes from and the higher capital investment is being put to use for this case, as long as T-Mobile stays separate from Sprint, they really can't compete at that level because now money is involved and the big two are just spending more. They're just spending a ton more. So not only are they going to have that similar coverage to maybe even T-Mobile, but now there's density involved within that coverage. So it's not fair coverage to where you're holding on to a bar or two of band 12 or band 71 for a 15-mile stretch, where Verizon and AT&T now have 2 additional cell sites and are going to perform much better on that stretch. It's just, in the rural expansion where AT&T is now penetrating as well, like the Nebraskas on Interstate 80, they're now penetrating that, and they didn't have low band before, but they now have low band with band 14, and they are pushing the gap even further now. So the importance for T-Mobile now to get that Sprint merger completed is on a very high scale, in my opinion, because now it's becoming a race between the top two, and it's like, hey, I got money and I got money, let's go at it. And at this point, the smaller two really can't compete. They just can't. There's just no way. I'm sorry I have to say it like this, but as long as they stay separate, although Sprint could potentially survive, we now need a third, stronger, more money-fed competitor. Not only for the 5G race, but now that these top two are getting into it, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You guys are going to see it over time. Like I said, I have sources, so I'm seeing internal documents that I can't share on the channel because it's not public knowledge. But I'm seeing now that they're further and further and further pulling away, and it's not even close anymore. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video, give you guys a lot of information so you guys can rewatch the video and really gather all this info, and leave all your opinions in the comment section down below. Like I said, the further investment from AT&T is coming, and it's going to get bigger. Some are saying up to a 20% capital increase going into 20 and 21. Verizon the same. Like I said, it's gonna be a match of who got the bigger money, and we're gonna throw it at the network teams, and we're gonna see who comes out on top. And when it becomes that kind of race, I'm sorry to say, T-Mobile and Sprint just don't have the fighting power to compete separate. Combined with the spectrum assets and a higher capital investment, they can compete. But right now, it's gonna be tough. I mean, now we're talking the expansion level that AT&T is at. If you guys remember the video, in the Southwest, they're spending $170 million. That's a separate contract. That's going to get completed. Now AT&T is pushing the C-RANs heavy, which they have more money to roll it out more aggressively. It's just going to be tough for them to compete. But I just wanted to make this video for you guys to really get that confusion out the way about the 5G. Essentially, it is just LTE advanced, but the 5G evolution is what they were claiming for some time now, and they went ahead and went through with it. But in most cases, it's faster than some of Sprint's real 5G. So, just wanted to make this video today to give you guys some insight here. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure to follow all of my social media outlets if you're new to the channel. Sorry that this was a longer video, but I just wanted to give you guys some more insight and info on this Saturday. So I will probably make a couple of more videos. I got some very, very important info to push out. So definitely stay tuned to the channel. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.